Yeah, there hadn't been someone not here that I'm not aware of. So just leave it at that.
Without him here, are you able to get any sort of like additional glimpse of Teddy's
Yeah,
pace?
absolutely. Yeah, everyone gets more reps,
Yeah.
and when you get a chance to, also get reps with maybe a unit you haven't been going with. So Teddy got, all the reps with the ones. It was good work.
I think he looks specifically.
Thought he looked good today. Thought he had good practice. He's doing well. I think it's his second year in what we're doing, and you see it when he's getting through his progressions, getting in and out of the huddle. But he's doing well.
Hey Sean, yesterday Roger Goodell talked about shortening the preseason. How much time does it take to actually evaluate? You feel like 4 games is enough to evaluate?
Look, there's been a lot of discussion relative to the preseason and the regular season, and honestly, I think a lot of that will be something that's handled by the management council and the union. So there's probably 3 or 4 suggested, reduce it 1 game and add 17 to the regular season with an alternating, 8 and 9 home season schedule. And the years that you'd have 8, you'd have the 2 preseasons if you were going 3. There's been discussion of 18 regular season games. Honestly, that'll be something I think those 2 groups will work through.
Sean, do you see a need to play 4?
Well, I see. Look, the significance of the preseason, obviously, with the way the off season is or the spring is, it's. I know there's a lot of people that feel like, man, that 4th game, and yet, I know each season there's guys that we're making decisions on after that 4th game that are going to play more in that 4th game, and special teams that are going to play more offensively and defensively. And so I know what currently exists, and that's not to say that if it went to 3 that you just have to change how you're rolling your players through. But after doing this a while, there's you have opinions on some things, and yet I think ultimately that'll be an ownership, management council, and a players' union decision. But I do think that time in pads from when we start to the start of the regular season is vital relative to the evaluation process and the preparation for getting ready to start the regular season. So I'm sure they'll go through a lot of the different scenarios.
How would you just assess your secondary just at this point through so far with everything going? How would you assess your secondary?
Look, I think it's a group that, when I say a veteran group, some of those guys are young, but I think certainly we've got a returning group that have all played a lot of snaps. So I think they're doing well.
Sean, I know you said that Greyson hasn't played a lot of football. He's kind of bounced around, got a lot to learn. But when you see that speed, does that kind of get your mind going?
There's certain plays that do, and then there's other plays that you just realize, man, it's going to take a while. So I think the interesting and exciting element is his ability to run. And today you saw a couple of flash plays, but I still think, look, he's got an uphill battle, and one that he knows he's going to have to work on some of the details of being a receiver. Now, can he stand out and be a special teams player? Well, then that, we've had guys that have done that maybe weren't as far along at their position, and so I think that's something we'll get to see more once we're in those situations.
Sean, when you look at the future of the NFL, do you see more RPOs actually being run? As far as, I know it depends on the quarterback, but it just seems like you'd see maybe that trend going that way in the future.
Well, look, we start with the trend as to who won the Super Bowl, and I think there's an element. look, I'm going to go back 20 years ago. It was a play. I changed it to another play. And then eventually it might be 2 plays called in the huddle. And then eventually, you know, what bled into is a backside slant or smoke route, and then maybe more backside combinations with the ability to hand it or keep it. And so I think that element is not going anywhere, that RPO element. And I think a lot of it is based on what your philosophy is offensively and who you have playing quarterback. But certainly the idea is to get to a better leverage play, whether you're changing it at the line, killing to or checking to the better play, or building in a play like an RPO. They all, in essence, effectively try to get the same thing done. But every once in a while, there's times where, man, I want to run regardless of what I'm seeing, or I want to, you know. And so I think depending on the team and in your philosophy offensively, I don't think it's going anywhere, though. I think you're seeing a lot of what we get from the college game, and so you build some of that in to suit your personnel.
There's this idea out there that your success with Taysom kind of started a trend and other teams are looking for a Taysom Hill. But it seemed like it developed here very organically. I mean, is that really something that any team can just do if they think it works? Or?
Yeah, ours did develop that way. I mean, it started with watching a practice squad receiver on film and then noticing a guy who played quarterback, and we still see him as a quarterback. And now it's a you know, it's a plus, and to his credit, he can do these other things. He's a good football player, and so, you know, he lines up obviously in a lot of spots in the kicking game. He lines up for us in a number of spots offensively, and so I think this kind of grew more than 3 years ago, us saying we need to find, you know, this guy like Jim Thorpe. It didn't start that way, and so, but the idea of looking for good football players that may be at positions other than where they might end up playing, I think, you know, we're all doing, you know, in our search for certain players. You know, we're looking closely at the basketball leagues for guys that might be able to transition into our game. You're seeing more players from outside our country playing than 20 years ago. You're seeing it not as much as you see it in basketball or baseball, but that's transitioned to our game as well. I mean, you know, a guy like David Onyemata, who had limited experience in high school, if any, college then at a small school in Canada, and all of a sudden has made that transition in a positive way here. So, you know, we're in that talent procurement profession, and so you're searching everywhere you can for someone with the right vision as to what he could play.
People talk about rugby sometimes in that life, but I'm not sure if it's really.
Yeah, look, there's been the punters that we've gotten. I think the Aussie rules football. I looked at a rugby player not too long ago just on film, and then, you know, so we're not opposed to putting the film on and looking, and I think that's just part of evaluating.
What's been the challenge with the new special teams coach and that adjustment process?
Look, Darren and those guys are experienced. You know, he's coached in this league for a long time with a close friend of mine. Those guys have come in right away, and I think that transition's gone smooth. Just spoke to Mike recently to see how he's doing. Some point, I'm sure, at training camp he'll come visit, but those guys are doing well. And this time period is good for us relative to the installation, terminology, and you know, those units will be important for us.
Sean, with the discussion of the 18-game possible regular season, how realistic is it to expand the rosters? Whether it's 45,
I think
50?
I would say this. I would say, without overstepping my bounds, I think all of that will be kind of on the table, and now it's just kind of predicting. You know, I think that there'll be some give and take. There generally is, if they were to expand the regular season. Now, how much and on the active. I think the one unique thing, especially for the college guys coming, is, man, when you go 53 to 46 on game day. If you ever just look at an NFL sideline while the defense is on the field or the offense is on the field, you could pretty much go 3-to-1 other personnel on the sideline to players. If you took equipment, you took all the other, you could easily get 3-to-1. So it's a thinner group than when you see a college game where it'd be 3-to-1 the other way. And so I think that would be something that's clearly discussed.
Sean, from a competition committee standpoint, when management and ownership considers it going to an 18-game, what would be the pros and cons of expanding?
Well,
competitive standpoint.
Yeah,
standpoint?
it's not a competition committee topic. In other words, it's not a rule change and so. Look, I mean, off the top of your head, you expand revenue, you play later into the year. I think a network person might be able to expand on it better than I would. Yeah. And then it's, all right, wear and tear on the players, additional 2 games, how does that all work? So those are the immediate pros and cons. Right. Look, I've heard 16 still with 3 preseasons, 16 with 4 that currently exist, 17 with 3, which was an interesting proposal or idea, and then certainly the 18. So it's kind of above my pay grade a little bit, but I do think that preseason that exists relative to the time we have in pads is important.
After the 2 strong years to start his career, what do you kind of want to see out of Marshawn going into year 3?
Look, there's so much at that position. There's a lot put on him oftentimes, with a match on a certain receiver, it's just the overall technique and the things that, he's pretty demanding of himself, so he's competitive. I think that, it never slows down, but it begins to become a little clearer for those guys, especially as it pertains to the splits, the formations they're getting, route combinations. If you're a corner and you're defending every route each play, you're going to struggle. You've got to understand where the split is and then what routes are going to come with those splits. And but I think he's a real smart player, so I think you're seeing those things just take place with the repetitions.
Coach, did you guys discuss McCoy at all?
No, look, we had made a number of investments already at defensive tackle and feel real good about the group we're working with right now. He's a talented player, and you hate to see him stay in the division, but no, we were far enough down the road with other players.
In the past, you guys have canceled the 10th OTA for some type of team bonding thing. Is that the same deal this year?
Yeah, we'll see. I'll email you the itinerary.
I mean, are you practicing Thursday? Because our schedule.
Your schedule was Thursday. We moved it to today, so we'll have something tomorrow. Look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. If there's a chance, guys are doing well though. We got a lot of good work in the heat. Today was a change up just to come inside, and I thought we had good tempo today. All right, thank you.